Historically, we've seen a lot of outreach to farmers that has been based on providing information. And the assumption has been if we simply provide them with the information about a new practice, they will therefore adopt it. And as we can see, that hasn't been the case. We have been doing that sort of conservation outreach for 30 years around no-till and cover crops and diverse crop rotations, and we're just not there yet. So our Great Lakes Protection Fund project is designed around figuring out a way to reach out to farmers to help them innovate and adapt to the changing agricultural needs that we have, especially for our water quality for the Great Lakes. So we have academics from Ohio State University digging into understanding how farmers make decisions. We have conservation outreach organizations across the Great Lakes region, all with the end goal of eventually providing better information, better guidance to conservation outreach staff across the Great Lakes so that they can do a better job of convincing middle adopters that they need to adopt these practices. Some interesting findings from this project so far is that any time that we're talking about a new practice, we actually need to talk about not just the benefits, or in fact, less so the benefits of that practice, and more so the problems that that practice solves.
Just for example, like corn silage season this year, it was a very, very wet year. We've had a huge amount of rainfall, but I don't think people would believe me if I just told them that, hey, we were able to drive out in the field after that heavy rainfall. Nobody was getting stuck. There wasn't hardly any mud out into the road because of our no-till practices and cover crop practices that we've had. And that's where we're saving money. It relieves a lot of frustration of getting stuck. And I think the biggest thing is being able to show them that, how it's been working for us.
Another component that we've learned in this research is that when it comes to convincing farmers to make changes to their practices, they need to hear about it from multiple angles. Not just that it makes sense for yield or for risk mitigation, but also for conservation, and that it fits all of their values.
We need to think outside the box. We can't continue to go down the road that we've had in the past. We need to do something more because we talk about sustainable farming. I knew losing all our soil and it was not sustainable. We could not keep on going with that. Over the last 4 or 5 years here, we've seen bald eagles here again. We just see so many more other things out there in the woods and in the fields. I like to credit myself here just because of the cover crop. We always have something growing out there, and we've got 1,000 acres of deer plot that we have growing here on our dairy.
So the third insight that we gained from this research is that when we are talking about new practices, we have to put them in context. What I mean by that is that we need to talk about not only the risks and benefits of the specific practice, but also within the context of the risks and benefits and challenges of the current practices to remind producers of those challenges.
As we go down the road, my goal is, everything in this watershed would have a cover crop at some point. I think we'll see that in the next 5 to 10 years. I think we'll convince every farm at least being able to make sure that we have a cover crop out there. It makes me feel really good when you're driving down the road and we see those practices happening, and we know that it came from our ideas that we've created here.
So next steps on this project is that we will pull together all of the research and all of the conversations and all of the knowledge that we've gained throughout the first 2.5 years and put that together into a report that we will be producing and making available to conservation outreach professionals across the Midwest and across the Great Lakes. And then secondly, we'll be providing some trainings in 2019 for conservation outreach professionals so that they can learn and practice these insights so that they can then apply them to their daily work.
Before we look across the fence line, it's like you're always looking to see what that guy is doing. But now it's starting to change because everybody's watching me.